You might know the Saguaro Cactus as the symbol of the Southwest. Here, hundreds of species depend on them. They're sacred to the local Tohono O'odham people, and some are older than the US-Mexico border itself. Each saguaro is a master at thriving in the desert, but can't survive this.
I'm back at Oregon Pipe today for the first time in many months. They finally reopened access to the monument now that border wall construction has been paused. These plants haven't even made it a year since they were transplanted.
In Arizona, cutting one of these down can lead to prison time. But the same rules don't apply here, and the saguaro isn't the only exception.
The Endangered Species Act has been waived. The Clean Water Act does not apply. The Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act is being ignored.
84 laws in total, written to preserve public land, the environment, local culture and history, and religious freedom.
Typically, before federal construction projects begin, there's an extensive environmental review to understand the impacts. Just like we wouldn't build a 2,000-mile-long highway without looking to see where the road was going to cut through. But unfortunately, none of that was done, and there was no study to look at what impacts this kind of construction would have on this really important ecosystem.
This has actually been legal since 2005, when the Bush administration passed an act allowing Homeland Security to waive any law standing in the way of a new border wall. Under Trump, $15 billion was spent on 450 miles of this.
I feel like there's a misconception that the border is a dusty road with tumbleweeds rolling across it, kind of barren land, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We really want to see walls removed where they have been damaging cultural sites that are important to Native American tribes.
That wall of hate is not a part of this land. That wall of hate divides us all.
We're also concerned about the places where we have a tremendous richness of biological diversity.
Walls have already ripped through waterways like this one, through wildlife refuges, through critical corridors for endangered wildlife like jaguars. And stopping construction alone at this point is not enough.
We must remove the steel wall out of our rivers.
Emily and Lakin formed part of a coalition of 70 organizations that recently sent a letter to the Biden-Harris administration, which issued a temporary halt on border construction, but has yet to announce a permanent plan.
And wall construction was being challenged in multiple lawsuits, for much of the wall, I should say, not all of it, by plaintiffs who allege serious environmental and safety issues.
And this is one of the areas where the Biden administration is currently deciding whether or not to finish Trump's border wall. We've watched thousands of pounds of dynamite be detonated here. We've watched mountain ranges be leveled in order to clear a path for the wall. Now, there are billions of dollars left over in those contracts used to build the wall, and we are urging the Biden administration to take that money and put it into healing the land.
In response to a request for comment, Customs and Border Protection said they remain fully committed to implementing President Biden's immigration and border security-related executive actions. And their website says, CBP works with local government, state, Native American, and federal land managers, as well as with the interested public, to identify, understand, and to the extent possible, minimize impacts to the environment.
Okay, I've got that set up.
Both Emily and Lakin have spent the last several years trying to document the fallout.
And just over a year ago, we set out almost 70 cameras along 30 miles of the US-Mexico border to define which animal species live and migrate through some important mountain passages between Sonora, Mexico, and Arizona in the United States.
Emily's organization, the Sky Island Alliance, has analyzed over 2 million photos and detected 106 species.
Mammals, birds, we're even picking up insects like butterflies and lizards on our cameras. And we've seen a remarkably low number of humans. This one was really poignant for us because you can see a deer on the left-hand side among the oak trees, and then a construction tanker going through really quickly. We've been watching the trucks go back and forth carrying thousands of gallons of water. They've been spraying the roads down that they've widened and created just to keep the dust down. And in the driest year we've had on record, this is absolutely painful sight. There are species that thrive here in the borderlands and nowhere else. The fewer individuals that are on the other side of the international border and are cut off may not have enough individuals to have a viable population. There's a small grassy meadow in the middle of the trees at the base of a mountain in the distance. That's where the U.S.-Mexico borderline actually is. And as long as border wall construction doesn't continue, this will be this amazing wildlife corridor for species like jaguar, Mexican wolf, and so many other species that are iconic for a region to be able to move back and forth between these Sky Island mountains.
Last month, a representative from Texas introduced a bill that would finish the wall using state funds.
The biggest concern people have is just the violence and just the criminal activity that is taking place across the border. I value human life over a river, over animals.
A recent study from the National Academy of Sciences, though, found that undocumented immigrants in Texas were less than half as likely as their U.S.-born neighbors to be arrested for violent crimes. The majority of drugs, meanwhile, come in through official ports of entry.
We haven't seen a single Border Patrol agent, we haven't seen a smuggler, we haven't seen a sign of anyone else out here. And this is an area where the wall ends, right over the hill there.
The wall itself is part of a larger system that includes video surveillance, ground sensors, and radar technologies. The Trump administration said this system did deter illegal entries in certain areas. But when it comes to the wall, everyone can agree on one thing.
It wouldn't be a fix, 100%. It would be a big help.
Many of the humans who live at the border, who have seen who the wall hurts, are still wondering who it helps.
Mostly what we see are wildlife species on our cameras. These are our protected lands. These are our shared backyard. What I see as the actual crisis at the border is the damage that's being done to communities by creating the wall and the environmental damage that comes along with that.